Hi everybody, welcome to Neighbor with Jimmy Burton. I'm Ralph Patterson, glad you're with us. And Jimmy, it's the good news that I get to spend a little time with you. You are CEO of the Burton Center. And first, before we get into the nuts and bolts of the Burton Center, I want you to explain, maybe thumbnail style, just if you can give a quick snapshot of all that the Burton Center does. Can you do that? It's hard to do, hard to get your arms around all that you guys do.
Yes, it is. First off, thank you, Ralph, and for having us and letting us share our story. We do like to share our story. It is a good story. Burton Center is an agency that is under the umbrella of the Department of Disabilities and Special Needs. Each county in the state has a board that is responsible for delivering services to people with disabilities and special needs. And that's a full RAM of disabilities, multiple sclerosis, cerebral palsy, intellectual disabilities, HASKI, head and spinal cord injuries, autism, Asperger's. So we cover a lot of different types of disabilities. Our program covers, we cover 5 counties full, and we're in a little bit in Lexington, but we cover Greenwood, Abbeville, McCormick, Edgefield, and Saluda. And we're the main agency to deliver those services for those 5 counties. There are other agencies in Lexington. We've just got a small part there. In a short statement, I guess, we do residential. We have people that are in a residential environment that we manage. We have 28 homes throughout the 6 counties. We have about 35 apartments where people have independent living, where they can live on their own, and we just supervise, make sure that they have bills are paid and get to their doctors and get their groceries and do those sort of things for them. The homes are supervised 24/7. We have 4 day program activity workshops. We're very blessed to have a lot of contract work through some partners in our area, Fuji, Pfizer, Capsugel, and Velux. We contract work through them to give our people jobs. So they come in, we bus people in every day. We drive 4,400 miles every day.
How many buses do you have? Because I see them everywhere.
We've got about 60 buses. We have a total of 130 vehicles. We've got some vans and we've got some cars, but a total of about 130. We've got 60 buses that are traveling every day, picking up people in the community, bringing them into their work, and then we take them home in the afternoon. So we have some people that will travel in the North Augusta area, which is Edgefield County. We'll pick up in North Augusta and bring them to our Saluda Day program. We have people Calhoun Falls, they may go to the Abbeville, to the Ware Shows Day program, which is in Abbeville County. And then we have some that we're picking up all through the other counties and picking up and bringing them into Greenwood. We have about 160 people in our Greenwood Day program. We got 68 in Ware Shows, about 68 in Saluda, and about 90 in Lexington. We also have early intervention. We have service coordination, which is someone that handles your case and gets the things done that needed to be done for you. We have a very strong foundation that works and raises money in the community to help do some things that we are unable to do with our state or federal dollars.
And let me stop you there, and I'm going to use my reading glasses. Old age has caught up to me. This is the mission statement of the Burton Center Foundation. And I think this is important to have folks get a hold of. The mission center of the Burton Center Foundation is to serve as an advocate for those with disabilities and special needs and their families in our 6-county community area. That's Abbeville, Edgefield, Greenwood, Lexington, McCormick, and Saluda counties, as you mentioned, and to afford an opportunity for caring persons to participate in providing resources to support the programs of the Burton Center. And I see all the things that, or I think I see, at least a lot of the good things that the Burton Center does on a daily basis. I live in the big city of Due West. You have 3 homes there, my man Shane, who I've known since I moved to Due West in 1992. He used to work in the Erskine Dining Hall. I don't know if he still does, but I walk when I'm out getting my exercise. I see him at where he lives. He's been there a long, long time. He knows everybody in town. I know him, and people love him. You know, and that's one of the things that I find so cool about the Burton Center and all that you do is just the love that you share every single day.
Well, thank you. You know, about 60 years ago, there was not many opportunities for people that had a disability or a special need. Two choices were to go to an institution or people would keep them at home. I had a Down syndrome sister that was born in '52, and there were 5 children in my family, and when she when she decided to go to school, when the last child went to school, Debbie couldn't figure out why she couldn't go. And so you're talking about being involved in the community. We have evolved from, I'll go back in that story a little bit later, but we have evolved into people having their own jobs, living in an apartment independently, actually owning, we have a married couple that own their own home. That's the first time that's ever happened in the state. So we've come a long way. Shane is a very good example of someone who is in what we would call our competitive employment program. We do partnerships with Erskine, we do partnerships with Lander, we do partnerships with Wesley Common, Goodrich. There are a lot of industries in town that will employ our individuals, and they make a salary just like you and I do. They get their paycheck, and they're ready to do their things for their paycheck. But a lot of them pay their own rent. They pay their utilities. They're dependent. They're independent, and they're not dependent on state dollars, which is such. 50 years ago, that was impossible.
Right.
There was no programs at all for that.
Wow. Well, and the Burton Center, as I've been at Lander now for almost 4 years, and so. Obviously, I'm a little bit closer to seeing what you do on a daily basis, and there are people in my office that are involved with the Burton Center, and even that have family members here, and that's the thing. The Burton Center touches really all areas of Greenwood and the 7-county area, and it's just when it started, when your dad helped get this going, did he have any idea that it was going to reach out like it has, and really, I'm sure that he knew that it could make a difference in the lives of a few, but did he have any idea that it was going to just reach out and just keep growing and really be such a major thing in this entire region?
Ralph, I think in the beginning, no. I don't think he had any clue what he was going to do. I think my father, and in the early 60s, there were 3 or 4 people in the state that really had a vision to do something different, to give people a little bit more opportunities than they had. My dad was one of those visionaries. Barbara Stone in Greenville, she had a child, same age as Debbie, going through the same kind of things our family was going through, and she was doing the same kind of similar things my dad started. And Dr. Chadwell over at Burton Center at that time, he had a vision to reduce the beds at Burton Center so that there weren't so many people in there. Get people out in the community and get them involved and make their life like our life. I don't like to use the word normal. Marion Cornell told me a long time ago, so what is normal? And I looked at him, I couldn't answer. And that's right. So normal's not a word we like to use, but there were the move started. We actually just celebrated our 40th year last year for being 40 years in the business, and it started with a movement of families getting involved with their children. There were 4 or 5 families in Greenwood that would get together, and so that the children could have some common children, and they could do some things together, because they would not be able to do a lot of the things that we could do. Though my sister tried to do everything we did.
Right.
But those 5 families, when my like I said, when my baby brother, the last one of us, went to school, Debbie couldn't understand why in the world can't I go to school. And she went to my dad and said, Dad, I want to go. I want to go. And my dad went to the superintendent at that time, and they made up some arrangements. Debbie went to school. She made it for about 3 days, and they had not that Debbie was had a lot of behavioral problems, but she was a lot different. We didn't say different. We called her special. But she there was nobody trained to handle that type of behaviors, and so these 5 families said, well, we'll do it ourselves. So they hired a lady. Her name was Jeannie Ide, and this was 1907. This was late 60s, probably around 68 or 69. And so they rented a little place over behind where Gleams is, over behind Blake's Brewer School. And they paid her. They paid her themselves and got them in. So there were 5 children, and she did activity. She did activities for them and tried to give them an educational environment. And this was actually the first work activity program in the Southeast. It was the first time that was done. This kind of got out. It started happening in Greenville, started happening in some other places. So in 71, Greenwood, back up a second, Greenwood actually, county council, these families went to the county council and said, we need some help. And so they developed the county ARC, Association for Retarded Children. And that's where the Greenwood area got started. In 1971, the state took it on. These ideas and these visions started growing through the state. And so in 71, the state actually developed a department and hired Dr. Burnett, who was some type of degrees toward special ed and that sort of thing. And there was a department done, and so they were able to get state funding, and money started coming in through the state, which was a big thing. So we started with 5 individuals. Burton Center right now serves 1,000 people. Wow. And we employ 460 people.
And that was going to be my next question, and you already answered it. And so in the big picture now, you went from not operating at all, 5 families, to now doing incredible things on a daily basis. What right now for you, in your role, what's next for the Burton Center? All the things that you already do right now, are you just trying to keep going as you moved into this position and are working really hard? Is there something that the Burton Center doesn't do yet that you hope the Burton Center can accomplish?
One thing that continually bothers us is that we have a waiting list. Because of funding, we're unable to serve everybody out there that needs serving. There are about 100 people in our 5 counties, our 6 counties, our area, that are eligible for service, but we can't bring them in because we don't have the funding to do that. We're working very hard with our legislators and the state and trying to help bring that number down so that people get in. We brought in a little girl. She's just as cute as she could be. Brought her in last week. She's been on waiting list for 5 years. And that's terrible. And she knew about Burton Center because we had a transition program with the high school so that they could come over. When she was in high school, there wasn't a waiting list 5-6 years ago. So she thought she was right after she got out of school, and they stay in high school till they're 21 years old. We thought that she would just, and she thought she'd just come right into the day program. So she's been waiting for a long time to get in there. Those are the kind of things we've got to do a better job of. We've got to make that change. There's residential waiting lists, people that are home with an aging caregiver. There are some caregivers that are 60, 70, even 80 years old taking care of someone that really needs to be in a residential environment. But a lot of them don't want them to want them to leave their home. And we support that. We do a lot of support for the homes, for the people taking care of their their child. But sometimes residential environment is the best thing for them. And if we can, we would like to expand that residential program. There are about, I think we have about 48 or 50 people right now that are within a breath of being critical to go into a residential placement. In other words, their caregivers are at an age and at a health position that it would be something could change in an instant. And so we'd try to handle those critical situations as best we could, but we don't have extra. There are not extra beds around here. We've got every bed full. Now, we talked about the regional centers just a little bit. Burton Center, and in 1952, when my sister was born, and my dad went over there to look at it because they said put her there. There were over 3,000 beds at Burton Center. 3,000 people in that location. Today, there's less than 200. So that we've done a very good job of getting people out of an institutional environment into a residential environment, and most of those people have succeeded very well. But we always want to try to serve people that we can't serve, give them some kind of service. We do some things for them even if we don't get some funding. We do some service coordination. We try to make sure they have essential needs and those sort of things. But as far as giving them full activity, we're not able to do that without the funding.
Now, something I want to talk about. A couple things. I want you to talk about the Miracle League, and I also want to talk about the Equestrian Center. But first, the Miracle League. Whose idea was that to get that going here? And I just can't imagine how proud you are of all the awesome things that have happened from that.
Yes, the Miracle League's actually turned into a very, very first-class sensory park for people with disabilities and handicaps. It's grown very much. The way the Miracle League happened, a good friend of mine in Greenville, Dennis Raines, worked with me in Kemet with the manufacturing group, but he was big into baseball up in Malden, and he was a servant to people, and he worked with a group to bring the Miracle League into Malden. The technology for the Miracle League field was done at Clemson and Michelin. It was a joint venture between Clemson, University, and Michelin, and they recycled tires and made octagon-shaped tiles to make a field so that people in wheelchairs and people that were not real good ambulatory, they would be able to, if they fell, they would get hurt.
Right.
And that's the key. And it's a soft and it's real done. And so Dennis, we bought this building in 2008, or we bought it, I guess, 2007. And Dennis, knowing me and knowing the building too, he comes down to visit us and says, look, he said, I'm the state director for the Miracle League. We've only got 2 fields in the state. Y'all have got a perfect spot for one. We want to put one in.
Where was the other field?
The other field was in Charleston area.
Charleston, okay.
Yeah, okay. Charleston area, I think, Goose Creek. And so we got interested. We came out and looked, and he gave me a price, and I said, "Whoa!" I said, "We're really trying to get into this building." At that time, we were watching every penny we had to try to get relocated into this facility, and it was $100,000. And I said, Dennis, we want to do it, but we got to get in here first and take care of it. We got in the building, and about 3 months after we got into the building, Dennis called me and he said, Jimmy, we're going to put the field in next week. And I said, Dennis, now wait a minute, now what's going on? He said, I have a donor who would wants the field in the Greenwood area, and he's going to donate the cost. And we've tried to find out who this guy was for 5 years.
Right.
And we haven't been able to find it.
Right.
He has been here to visit us.
How about that?
But
you don't know?
We don't have a clue. Dennis said he wanted to be anonymous for it, and we've tried. We said, Dennis, we really need to thank this guy But the Miracle League has turned out, they have their own board. It's for children from 19 years old down to about 6 years old, and we might, we don't necessarily go exactly by that. If some older people want to play, then we'll allow that too. They have a buddy. Some of the people we serve, their caregiver, their parents, their grandparents, their aunt, or whoever is caregiving for them, some of them can never leave their child. They're in a situation where it's 24/7 taking care of somebody. So this is an opportunity for the parents to sit back and watch their child do something that they never had an opportunity to do before.
Right.
The motto of the Miracle League is every child deserves a chance to play baseball, and they believe that group the group believes that. They do it. So we do them on Saturdays in the spring and the fall. If you haven't seen a game, you need to come out and watch one of our games on Saturday morning, because it will really inspire you. We have about 80 participants. This last fall, last spring, we had about 80 individuals that played. So we had 4 teams: Braves, Dodgers, Reds, and the Braves. And I forgot the other one. Dodgers, Braves. Anyway, they have four different teams, and they have their uniforms. The uniforms they pay an entry fee. The parents pay an entry fee. If they can't do the entry fee, we take care of it. Our foundation will help them get in there. They come in about 10 o'clock in the morning, and they play to lunchtime, and it's just amazing. The parents, I've seen parents just lose it because they're so excited that their child has had this opportunity that they never had before.
Well, and everybody cheers for everybody, and
no losers, no winners. Everybody scores.
And I know Paul Crutcher is your public address announcer, and he loves doing that. And that's a real special thing for him. That's really touched his heart too.
Yeah, one of the magistrates here in town, he does the music. They have loudspeakers going, they have music going on, and a lot of the individuals will have their own song. When they come to bat, they'll point to him and they say, "All right, my song,"
That's right.
And they'll play his own song. And but it's a great facility. It's a great event for the parents and for the children. This past year, we were able to open a Sensory Park that tied in with the Miracle League. The Presbyterian Women Association did a grant, plus our foundation put some money in, and then we had tons of people in the community to donate and to help work. We have a 3.5-acre park right behind the Miracle League that has horse trails for the equestrian and hippotherapy riding, plus cement trails for wheelchairs. We have raised garden beds so that wheelchair people can get involved in touch and feeling and working with the plants. And we added bathrooms to the area, added a bathroom and a picnic shelter. And this park is open to the public. Anybody with a disability and a wheelchair that would like to come out, we've opened it up to the public, and it's really a great thing. The Miracle League kind of started all this and made it. And when Nancy and Lander, the Presbyterian women, came to us about some idea, Nancy and I talked about this area to do it, and we really found a really nice spot to do it, and good and level, and it's just really a nice park.
It sure is.
Just added a really good thing. We have people that after lunch, that's where they go. They go take them a half hour or hour break, and they're out there and they're running through the park, and it's really a good day.
Well, and you mentioned Nancy, and that's Nancy Poston from the Lander Equestrian Center. Let's talk about that. The Burton Center partnered with Lander to build the Equestrian Center right here on your grounds. We now have the covered arena, but you mentioned the hippotherapy and the therapeutic riding that your clients, the special needs folks, I've heard them called consumers. They're people to me. So and I don't know the best term. They're children, they're friends, they're good people. But what exactly?
Special people.
They are special people. But what has the therapeutic riding program and the hippotherapy? How has that helped the Burton Center?
Well, first off, it's a tremendous relationship. The equestrian program is just one relationship we have with Lander. There are so many things that we do with Lander and Lander does with us, but the equestrian program, I say, put us on the map even more than we were. The facilities that Lander put in are, they're first-class facilities. It was a very good example of two different state agencies working together to accomplish one goal. There are many agencies in the state that are jealous of our program, because of what's going on.
Right, I believe it.
Nancy and Beth do a tremendous job. They work with. We have about 45 people that are involved in the therapeutic or the hippotherapy riding. I know a lot more about horses than I ever thought I would know, but the hippotherapy is explained. Someone that's non-ambulatory from the waist down, that riding on a horse is very similar to a walking movement. The horse gives you that type of feel and that type of movement, and it's very good for their strengthening their torsos and their lower body, because the only other way to do it is either physically take legs and move them or get into some kind of machine. This is a natural way to do it. There's a team of 4 people that will be around the horse, 2 in the front and 2 in the back, just to make sure the horse doesn't do anything. But they use some real mild tempered horses for the therapeutic riding. But these people, a lot of them would never have an opportunity to get on a horse. And then to get on a horse and have it help you is even better. The first individual, John Romaine, we got into the therapeutic program. He's non-ambulatory. Speech was not very good. Movement of his arms were limited to about this high. Today, he speaks where you can understand him. He can move his arms up. He has the ability to get in and out of a bathtub by himself that he was not able to do before the therapeutic riding started. That's
wow, what a blessing!
That's complete success.
Yeah, it sure is.
The parents are just overwhelmed with how good he has done with this, and there was no opportunity for anybody around here to have that without the support of Lander and doing this program. There are other programs in the state and around the country that do some hippotherapy and therapeutic riding, but there's nowhere we've been able to find that we have the combination on one property, on one campus, where we're here and we're able to go out and do it. We have people that will just, part of their training to help them with their behaviors and different things, is just to go out and groom, take care of the animals, get involved with it. So we're very excited. We just proud to be a part of it.
Well, and I know that all the successes with the Equestrian Center that obviously benefit the people that you work for on a daily basis. It's also, you mentioned it, that there are now people connected to the Burton Center through the Equestrian Center or through Lander or vice versa that didn't know about each other. And now I know Nancy and her staff need volunteers to do what they're doing. But there's a lot of people that help. And it's not just the Lander people, and it's not just the Burton Center people, but people from the community to coming out and help as volunteers, and that's all good for everybody. And that's
everybody wins,
everybody
and especially
wins.
People with disabilities.
That's
they're the ones that really win. This community and the areas that we serve, the response that we get in the community when we go out and ask for help, or if we need some help from the community, the response is unbelievable. The community really supports Burton Center. I can't say that enough. But we have a lot of friends, and we need a lot of friends to do the things extra. We have funds that allows us to do minimum things. We have housing, feed, clothe, transportations, those things are covered by the funding that we receive for each of those. But, to take a trip, to go to Six Flags for the day, to go to a Braves ball game, or go up to the Drive ball game, or to camp, go to a camp for a week. Those things aren't covered by your general funds. We have to have other ways to do that. That's either through our foundation or through just fundraisers that we do, and when people really step up and want to help people that are less fortunate than them.
Right. Well, let's change gears a little bit. You mentioned some of the things that are challenges to you, wanting to find ways to help people that are on waiting lists. Let's talk about some of the things that you're most proud of. The Burton Center does wonderful things every single day and has helped, been part of the blessings for a lot of families on a daily basis, and still has challenges. But what are you, as Jimmy Burton, what are you most proud of what's going on right here?
Well, that's hard. That's tough. I think that, let's see, the most proud. I've been director for about 4 years. When my father was a director for 36 years, 37 years or whatever. He built it, and when the board came to me and asked me to come in and help, I really didn't want to be the director when I first came. I said, I came from business, and I said, I'll help run the business side of the operation and do that, and I thought that's what I wanted to do. Then when my father retired and they wanted me to take over, there's no way I was going to fill his shoes. And the only thing I could hope for was that we continue to be the best in the area, continue to move forward, and continue to make progress. So I feel very proud that since I've been here as a director, we've worked very hard with Lander to get this started. This Lander project is very proud of. The park, the Miracle Leagues, those sort of things. I feel like we're moving forward. I can never go back and do what my father did. I mean, his drive and his passion. Now, I will say this, my father often took credit for it when Debbie should have got the credit. Debbie my sister was, she was the inspiration. She was the drive. She was the grease that oiled the wheel. So she pushed Daddy. And Daddy was in a position where he could do it, and he took that challenge on, and he built this place. He built this, and he really had a lot to do with how this entire state operates. One of the things we should be very proud of, the state of South Carolina is ranked 13th nationally in delivering services to people with disabilities and special needs. That's a very high mark, and that's it takes a lot of work to sustain that level. In our southeastern region, we're one of the best, and I'll always say Burton Center is the best in the state.
There you go.
And
I'll agree with you.
So there are 48 agencies in the state just like us, plus about 50 private providers. So it's a big networking thing. So we're very proud that I guess what I'm most proud of is that we've been able to sustain the momentum and the respect that Burton Center had when my father was here.
Well, and I'll say this, some of the people that I work with on a daily basis at Lander, Jeff May, he loves the Burton Center, and it's one of the most important things in his life. I know that. Linda Kidd in my office at Lander has been involved here, and their daughter Jessica. And I know people all throughout the community that they stick their chests out for the Burton Center, and they couldn't be more proud of a lot of the things that are happening here. And that's got to make you feel great too.
It does. to have limited budget and limited resources and still move forward. That's what I try to tell my staff every day. It says, let's take one step forward. You might get kicked back a couple during the day, but at the end of the day, let's see if we can be one step further to our goals and our missions that we need to do. And it's hard to do. Some days you get kicked back a lot.
Right.
And you get kicked back pretty bad, but stand up, brush it off, and let's go forward.
That's cool. Okay, Jimmy, now I want to talk a little bit about future plans with the Burton Center, but also with the Equestrian Center. You have the original barn, you have the covered arena at the Equestrian Center, and I know we need another barn there, which will be one's going to be the border barn and one will be the team barn. We also need a facility for the hippotherapy, is correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
Why don't you take us over there and tell us exactly what you need to accomplish.
Slide, and then, okay. If I may, I'm gonna tell a little story.
Do it.
When Lander and Burton Center got together and said, let's do this, Nancy and I and Beth and a few of us decided we would go. Burton Center had a facility for therapeutic riding. And so we wanted to go over there and see a little bit of what it was. So we went to Burton Center, and it was a 4 or 5 stall barn, wooden barn. You know, I thought it was a pretty good facility, and they had a small pasture land, and they had some woods around it. So we came back and said, oh man, this would be great if we had something like this. Well, Lander does things right. I must say, they do it right. The barn that Lander has, this is a facility that's already here. It's a 10-stall barn, very nice building, metal roofs. The facility's great. The arena, we started off with an open air arena, and this is an arena that's about 350 feet by 150 feet, somewhere in there. That's pretty close to so it's a big arena.
It's huge.
Actually, I think they've said that it was Olympic size facility, that the Olympic equestrians could actually run it. They just added the roof on this facility this past year, and it has just made an unbelievable difference from heat. You know, we had a really tough summer last summer. If you would get out on a horse and it's 100 degrees outside and you're out in the sun, and that's not very healthy for some people, especially vulnerable people. So it's difficult. So this has made it so much better. If it rains, we can still have practice, and we can still do the therapy. Fuji, as we said earlier, Fuji is a great partner with the Burton Center. We do the recycling of their 35 millimeter one-shot cameras, and they have partnered with us in other things too. We do a lot of jobs for Fuji, but they gave us a grant a few years ago. We were going to use the grant for another project, but that project didn't really work. So we asked Fuji, could we use it for a different project? And we've asked them if we could use it for this barn, and they were excited about the opportunity to do it. So Fuji has given a nice grant to help us get started with this. We haven't started yet. Lander's working on some other things to do it. This facility will be solely for the hippotherapy and therapeutic riding. There will be, as you notice, there's some stalls for the therapeutic horses. There'll be classrooms in here for special ed, so the special ed can interact with the people. There will be its own separate covered. It won't be anything as big as the big arena, but it'll be a small arena where it's covered, so people can come straight from our building into this building without having to get in the weather. We're very, very excited about this project. We're so fortunate that we had the land available, and everything just worked out so well for Lander and for us. Lander is utilizing about 37 acres. We have 20 acres on the back part of our property that's pasture land, and it's very good. And then we've got this tract here is about 17 acres. So Lander operates about 37 acres of our property. We've got about 30 acres that's undeveloped, and we've got plans for that. We all have visions, and we're going to. One of the things I'd like to do before I leave is to have a handicap pond. Back behind, just on the other side of our sensory park, have docks where they would be able to take a wheelchair out, and they would be out, but still give them coverage. But they could throw a line in at least 180 degrees. That's a goal I got.
That's a great goal. Yeah.
And we have water available on the property, so that's not doing it. We've just got to get the community motivated to help us and dig a big hole and build us a nice dock area. It'd be a great thing for them to come out in the afternoons or on weekends and do that. So.
Let me mention how some of the things that you just talked about is another example of how the Equestrian Center with Lander can help the Burton Center, and it's also giving opportunities for students at Lander. You talked about the hippotherapy and the therapeutic riding, and the Lander now offers a therapeutic horsemanship minor in special education. We're now cultivating and soliciting donors to help with scholarships for that specific program, and there are people that want to help with that, and so it just all works together. And so hopefully we're going to, if I do my job at Lander and get to work and continue to put people together that believe in what you're doing and believe in what the equestrian program's doing at Lander, we're going to be able to continue to help each other, and that's the way it's supposed to work.
That's
right? Isn't that cool?
That is cool. Lander, like I said, Lander does a lot of things for us, and we try to replicate when we can.
Oh, you do?
But just one example, every year we have an annual basketball game between the staff and the people we serve.
I saw a picture of that the other night at Finest Horn Arena.
Finest Horn Arena.
That's right.
And so they are able to come into Lander, to this beautiful facility, play a basketball game. The Lander basketball team comes out, and they're the coaches and they're the referees, and the coaches doing the clocks and doing the timing, and it's a real game for them. And where else would you get an opportunity to do that?
Right.
And we'll fill up one side of the stands. Families come in and all that. That's really good. Lander's art department works very closely with Louise Robinson, who is our day program director, in setting up classes for arts and crafts. So they'll bring them in and they'll bring some art supplies over. They've painted murals for us. They've painted rooms for us, for a sensory room where we can kind of help a behavior if somebody's having a bad day. I always like to go somewhere off by myself and be quiet and get whatever the problem was off my mind. Well, they have those days too, and so Lander did a very good job on painting the room for us with real soothing colors and doing that. So Lander does a lot with us, and we try to do as much as we can with Lander also. But it's a very good partnership.
Now, the first time I ever heard about the Burton Center, other than seeing the homes that you have in Due West and getting to know some of the people there, but Jan Haldeman has been a part of your board, and I've known Jan for since 1992. She was the first person to tell me about many of the good things that go on here. How important is it to you that the quality of people that you have on your board and your foundation board to do everything that you need to do?
I look at them as ambassadors. They do set policy for us. They make sure that we are fiscal responsible. They do the things that boards are supposed to do. But we're different. We're helping people, helping special people every day, and trying to make their life better in any way we can, any shape or form. They get involved. They know the people. They know them by first names. They'll go in and talk, and they'll speak to them, and they're very active in when we do balls and when we have dances and things like that. And they go out and tell their people, their friends and their relatives and all, about what is going on out here. It's not a lot of times a facility like this is thought of as maybe just someone who's babysitting. We do not want that to be what people think of us. We want people to think of us as someone who is helping, teaching, nurturing, and making them more able to do activity work, to do real work, to be a living part of your community. Somebody that's active, going to the grocery stores, buying things at the grocery store, going to the barbershop, getting their haircuts, doing the kind of things that, being a part of the community, living in this community. And we have some people that a lot of people in this community know because they're very active in the community. And if I can, I'd like to tell one story. There's a young man, Danny Hardy, and he works out at Wesley Commons. He's been at Wesley Commons for 20 years, got a 20-year pen. He was brought to our center about 30 years ago. Everything in him was in a black paper bag, and the mother said, I cannot take care of him anymore. We didn't have a residence farm or whatever. My father had a family that volunteered to keep him until we could get him in a residence. We got him in a residence finally, and he worked in the workshop first. Then he went to work outside the workshop in a job. I think he started at Lander. I think Lander was his first job, working in the cafeteria there. But then about 22, 23 years ago, he went to Wesley Commons. Since Wesley Commons, and since he's been there that long, he's got a retirement plan, he's got vacation, he pays his own insurance, he lives in an apartment independently, he pays rent, he pays his power, he walks all over town. He has a bicycle, he'll ride a bicycle some, but he walks all over town, he knows everybody in town. He was completely dependent on the state of South Carolina 30 years ago. Today, he is completely independent.
Isn't that something?
Yes, I mean, that's one of our real success stories. And we have a lot of those, but a lot of people know Danny. So
that's right.
And Michael in Abbeville, at the Abbeville football game. Michael is another good example of someone that, just the program has really helped him.
Well, and that's the cool. Sometimes you work so hard, and sometimes you get so frustrated because you can't do everything that you want to do. And then if you just slow down enough to count your blessings and see all the hundreds and hundreds and thousands of good things that you've been a part of, and really that God has blessed to help make this happen, has to make you feel pretty special too.
Well, thank you, but. There are days when the phone's ringing and you're getting a lot of complaints. You're getting things just aren't going real well, and we're fighting budgets or we're fighting things, and you get to the point where the smoke's coming out of your ears. I get up out of my desk and I walk out in that workshop and I'll get 30, 40 hugs within 15 minutes.
That's right.
And that just lifts your spirits, and it makes everything worthwhile.
Sure does. Okay, now most of our listeners are in Abbeville County, McCormick County, and a little bit of Anderson County. Help the people specifically in Abbeville County understand the scope of the work that the Burton Center does, just in Abbeville County alone. Okay.
We have a day program in Ware Shoals that is in Abbeville County. Ware Shoals is a town that has actually corners in Lawrence, Greenwood, and Abbeville, but we do have a activity workshop in the Ware Shoals in Abbeville County, and there are 68 people that come to that day program every day. As you mentioned, in Due West we have 3 homes. We have 4 of the homes in Ware Shoals that are Abbeville County. So we're residentially supplying residential environment for about 35, 40 people in Abbeville County. There are 37 full-time employees that are Abbeville County people, and about 16 part-time employees. The budget just for Abbeville is $3.2 million.
Wow.
So that's $3.2 million that we put into Abbeville County, and a lot of that stays in Abbeville County. When I mentioned the employees, those are actual employees that have an Abbeville County address. We serve all the way to Calhoun Falls in Abbeville County. We bring people into the program from Calhoun Falls. In McCormick County, we have one home, but we do have a route that picks up some others. So I think there are about 20 people in McCormick that come to Greenwood, to this facility. But running that home also generates money for McCormick County. I don't have the exact figures on that home, but running an ICF home is about $1.5 million a year. Normally, that's about what it would take to run that home. So that's $1.5 million that goes into McCormick County. And we have a nurse there and several employees in that area. Now, Anderson County of your area, that's served by a different board. That's served by Anderson Board, a very good board. I know the director very well there, and they do very good service up there. They have a lot of good work activity programs and very good residential things there. So Abbeville is, it's part of our core business. Like you said, we have board members from Abbeville. Dr. Haldeman's been a board member for a long time. Edith Davis is board member, Shane's mother, and Dr. Brad Christie.
Yeah, you just added Brad Christie.
He was on our board of visitors, and he just moved into our foundation board. And we have we actually have 3 different boards that work for us or help us. Our operating board, that's my bosses, and they handle policy and procedures and make sure I'm compliant and our agency's compliant. And we have a foundation board that's main function, as you did the mission statement earlier. They're to help do the things that money doesn't, the state money and the federal money doesn't allow us to do. And the board of visitors. And we talked about ambassadors a little earlier. The Board of Visitors are truly ambassadors. They're people that we come in and we just try to educate them. They're people that really may not know much about Burton Center. We try to bring people in that may not have had a lot of experience with us, and we do our best with them to educate them and ask them to go out and spread what we're doing, tell people what we're doing. And that's been very successful. And we also have moved people from that board to the other boards. So it's we got that idea from Lander.
Well, and it works.
It works.
Yeah.
It works. Eleanor Till, we asked her to come over and help us with some fundraising stuff. And she talked about, well, you need to start with this. And it's worked very well.
She knows what she's talking about,
yeah,
right?
That's right. That's
right.
exactly right.
Well, I hope everybody that didn't know much about the Burton Center, Jimmy, now has a better idea. And I bet if this works out just right, it's going to spark or ignite a spark in some folks that they're going to want to find out a little bit more about the Burton Center and all the good work that you do. Thank you. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you very much, Ralph. Thank you for taking the time to come out and talk to us. And we, like I said, we love to tell our story. And we sure appreciate it.
And you got a great story to tell. So for Jimmy Burton, I'm Ralph Patterson. Thanks for joining us on another edition of Neighbor to Neighbor. Our time's up. Thank you for yours. Goodbye, everybody.